So we're back again underneath the tree with another person that I know has a story inside of them because we here at LCL believe that every person is walking around with a fantastic story and we want to hear about it. So I am here with Alina Baker Rogers. I'm going to give her a couple minutes to introduce herself and then we want to hear her story.
Oh my. So again, I am who I am, Alina Baker Rogers. I'm actually on the board. We're taking up the board pretty soon. As a matter of fact, I know you guys are going to miss me, but that's all other
That's
story.
another story.
That's another story. And the Northern Neck is my home away from home. I'm retired. I'm an author, but I've actually gone back to work now. I'm teaching, so I'm feeling really good about that. And I love the library.
Well, that's a good thing because we love having her here. So, let's hear your story. I can't wait because, you know, she's an author, which means she has a lot of stories rolling around up here.
Yes.
But she has agreed to share a childhood story with us, and we are looking forward to it.
Okay, so I have lots of childhood stories, but I'm just going to concentrate on one. First of all, I just want to say that being a kid was the most fantastic thing in the world. We got up in the morning, we went outside to play, and we only went back in the house when it was time for lunch, or to go to the bathroom, or if we got in trouble. Which case,
and you didn't want to go back in the house when you got in trouble, that's for sure. Because that meant you had some chores.
That's right, exactly. So we stayed outside all day, running, playing, rolling in the streets. And one of the things that we did rolling in the streets was roller derby. We actually had a team. This was back in the 70s. We had a professional women's roller derby team. They were called the Warriors.
Okay.
And the Warriors, I wish I could remember the lead woman's name because I pretended I was her. The Warriors had everybody in our neighborhood aspired to be roller derby experts. So I don't know if you guys remember the skates. They were metal and they would fit on your shoes.
You talking about the ones with the keys?
Yes.
Okay. You had to adjust it with the key.
Yes, that's right. You had to adjust it with the key and it would slip onto your sneakers or your shoes. And then when, for whatever reasons, they didn't work anymore, we would find pieces of wood, long pieces of wood, that we would then nail the wheels onto. So anything that we could do to be roller skating in any form, whether or not it was in those metal ones or whether or not we took the wheels and put them on boards, we were doing that in the street. And we had, on our block, we had, this is in Philadelphia, I think I said that, I'm from Philly. We would take chalk and we would draw the longest oval of a roller rink that you could imagine, almost from, this is my exaggeration as an adult now, I was gonna say almost from one end of the block to the next, but it was really, that's what it seemed like, back then, but it was really mostly like half a block that we would have this roller rink. And if you know anything about roller derby, it's part dancing, showing off, a lot of showing off. And if you were pretending to be the Warriors, it was who could get around the rink fast enough. You were allowed to knock each other down. You were allowed to kind of think like you're going to trip somebody, but you didn't really want to do that too much because somebody might get hurt. So it was a lot of that. And I was the roller derby queen.
The roller derby queen
of Addison Street. At least that's what it was in my mind.
That's
anyway.
Right. Yeah.
And then we graduated from that to actually going to what they used to call roller rinks. And the roller rinks, there were 2 or 3 of them in the city. The ones we used to go to at Elmwood in Southwest Philadelphia. And my mother, our mother, there's 4 of us, because our mother was the Kool-Aid mom.
Oh.
She was always looking for some fun for us.
Okay.
And my mother also back then was still young enough that she could roller skate herself.
So now you're gonna have to explain to anyone who's looking, if they don't know what the Kool-Aid Mom is, what the Kool-Aid Mom was.
The Kool-Aid Mom is what was the mom on the block, street, who did everything with everybody's kids. If it was going to the movies, the Kool-Aid Mom was the one who would organize it with all the parents. She would make sure that she knew which kids were going, and she would keep everybody straight while they were out. There was no messing with the Kool-Aid Mom. She was fun, but she was organized as well.
And was she in charge of snacks?
She was in charge of snacks. She was in charge of snacks. Obviously, she was in charge of Kool-Aid. You know, it's funny we say Kool-Aid. I mean, that just means that she made sure that we had, you know, stuff to drink or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Well, all drinks were Kool-Aid.
All drinks were Kool-Aid.
All Kool-Aid.
Yeah. A little bit more sugar than now.
Yeah.
But, so the Kool-Aid Mom was the fun mom on the block. She was the one who took everybody's kids and did everything with them. That was our mom.
So super cool.
So.
Now, because you grew up in Philadelphia, did you have a mom in your block who was the frozen cup lady?
Oh, the frozen cup lady.
Because, you know, most of the time they went hand in hand. That was the Kool-Aid that they put in the little styrofoam cups, and then somebody would sell them for like a quarter.
She lived around the corner.
Okay.
That woman lived around the corner, and in fact, in Philadelphia, what we refer to as, we would actually refer to that as water ice.
Okay.
Yes.
So ours was frozen cups, and
It was frozen, but it
Yeah.
was water ice, and she would scoop it out, and you know, everything cost a nickel or a dime, or you know, a quarter was expensive back then.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm sort of telling my age at the same time, but yeah, we had that mom, and we had the Kool-Aid Mom, and yeah, we had some good times. Yeah.
So that's interesting because the times you're talking about growing up, even though the Kool-Aid Mom was in charge of all the children at the time and taking them places, you know, where if you went to the zoo or everybody knew that if you wanted to go, you had to listen to that mom. And if the Kool-Aid Mom came back and said, you know, Mrs. So-and-so, Alina didn't behave, then
you wouldn't be going on the next trip, and you would be on punishment before then.
That's right.
So I mean, that's just the way it was.
That's the way it was.
When you're out with somebody, you're out with an adult, and you're listening to what the adult is saying for lots of reasons, and safety is one of those. When you have a lot of kids out, you gotta, everybody's got to be careful. But you know, the other thing about that Kool-Aid Mom is that my mother wasn't a driver. She wasn't a driver until years later when she became a Tupperware lady and she got a car for being a Tupperware lady, or was it an Avon lady? I have lots of stories.
We're gonna have to invite you back.
Right. So she needed other people to drive, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So, and if they didn't drive, then that meant taking everybody on public transportation. So she mostly tried to, if I recall correctly, she mostly tried to get other parents who were driving to help us get where we were going.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
So those are some fond memories of growing up, and they're quite different from the way children grow up, because you say children were always outside.
Always.
And sometimes you can go and you don't see any children outside, even though they have the space and the environment to do so. But we were always outside. I mean, that was just something that you did.
Yeah.
You got up, you did your chores, and outdoors you went.
And you went outside, and it is actually kind of interesting now to see, you know, so many times, whether it's in the city or either in the country here, you don't really see a lot of kids outside. It's very strange.
And we didn't eat all day.
No, we
No,
didn't.
because you came in to
You
get
came
your
into
lunch.
meals,
Mhm.
and then you would go back
Back
outside.
outside.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just one thing I want to say, going
Sure,
back to the
what's
rollerblading.
Since you was the warrior and everything.
Well, I just want to say that I remember when I got my first pair of roller skates, and they were different from
the metal.
the metal
ones.
That's
Mhm.
right. These were the slip-on
With the boot.
with the boot,
Mhm.
with the boot, and you know, the place where we went, you could buy a different color shoestrings or whatever.
Put some pom-poms
on it. But the cool thing, and the thing I wanted to say is that, just going back to the dancing thing, I mean, it was so much fun to learn how to skate backwards. You know, I never got into doing any of the splits or anything like that, but being able to skate backwards and dance and turn and do all those other kind of things it was just amazing. It really was.
So by the time you got to the roller skating ring with the boot skates, you just had to get adapted to the boot skates.
That's right.
Because if you could skate on those metal skates that you had to keep adjusting to your foot, and them things used to slide apart, and with that key, so you was pretty good by the time you got adjusted to the boot and the rollers.
Oh, I would say I was pretty good. Yeah, I would say I was pretty
Anybody
good.
have any video out there of Alina with being the Warrior King? We certainly would like to see that.
I hear you. I would too, as a matter of fact. So. But yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah.
Good. Well, we thank you for sharing those stories with us. We appreciate that. That's just wonderful. And you know what? When you hear stories like that, it brings up other stories that you may have experienced in your mind, like the roller skates. When Lena said roller skates playing in the street, we used to play a game called Scully in the street. That was a long time ago, and that was made with the little bottle caps.
Yes, we used to call it dead block.
Alina stole my game. She just renamed them something else. We have to talk about that.
Yeah,
but if it brings up a story that you would like for me to hear, because you know I want to hear your stories, please get in contact with me. You know where I am. So until we meet again, we'll see you later next time.